Hi everyone and welcome to English for You. I'm Pat.
And I'm Mike.
And today we're going to be taking you through an airport. Two airports, in fact, over the 2 days.
An airport. I remember what that word means,
Yeah.
but it's been a few years. Can you explain what an airport is?
It is a place where you get on a plane that takes you to other countries.
Other countries?
They still exist.
Are you allowed to do that? You are allowed to do that. This is fantastic. So the airport, a place that many of us have probably not been to in a long time, is hopefully a place that more of us will be going to in the near future as the world gets back to normal and we start to travel. So we're going to be checking out some of the language of airports, useful terms and signs and words that people use in and around airports. So next time you travel, which is hopefully soon, you will have no problems. How about our opening questions here? Here's a good one. Are you a good flyer?
I'm pretty good, yeah.
You good?
I don't tend to have I don't get sick. I can sleep.
Okay.
That kind of thing. My legs aren't too long.
Right. So that's a useful thing. Notice there when I'm asking Pat if he's a good flyer, I don't mean like a bird. He didn't say yes, but my arms get tired from flapping. No, of course, we're people. We're not birds. So when we talk about being a good flyer, it's kind of do you enjoy long trips on airplanes?
Yeah, or at least you're not dreading them because of the inconvenience and the cramped conditions and the food.
There are people who just take trains and buses and really don't travel by plane.
I think my aunt is afraid of. She's always been a bit afraid of flying.
So she'll probably won't be coming to Taiwan.
Not anytime soon. She's got better. I just remember one of her very first. She was super nervous.
You can get nervous on planes sometimes, especially when they bounce around. I'm a pretty good flyer. My one problem is I don't sleep. I wish I could sleep on planes, but I like to read good books, so I'll usually find a book, and I'll be happy with that. I think we should turn our attention to the teaching points, so let's do that and check out our dialogue all about traveling by plane and going through the airport.
Reading.
From check-in to customs, the language of airports. Tristan and Nancy arrive at the airport, ready to begin their honeymoon.
I'm glad we came 2 hours early. The airport is busy.
I guess folks are taking winter vacations. Let's check in.
Hello, welcome to Easy Air. Where are you flying to today?
We're going to Bangkok, Thailand.
Wonderful. Can I see your passports, please? Do you have any baggage to check in?
Yes, we have 1 piece of check-in baggage each.
Please place them on the scales.
Tristan places the baggage on the scales.
I'm afraid one of these is over the baggage allowance. You're going to have to pay an extra fee.
Oh dear.
Tristan and Nancy check in their baggage and go to security.
Please take all electronics out of your bags and place them into the trays.
Security is really serious in airports.
Sir, please open your bag. You can't take this bottle of lotion through. It's more than 100 milliliters. I'm going to have to remove it.
I told you to put that in the big bag.
So this is a conversation between Tristan and Nancy on kind of one side, but also the staff at the airport will be talking as well. We begin by seeing that Tristan and Nancy arrive at the airport ready to begin their honeymoon.
Ooh, this is a special trip for them.
Indeed, because the honeymoon is what you take after your wedding. Sometimes you would start on the very evening of your wedding.
True.
You'd have your marriage ceremony, have your reception, and then head off to the airport at night.
That's right. You often see that in movies, but I always thought that's too busy.
Yeah.
That's too much to do in one day. Get married and go on a big holiday.
Yeah. There's a sort of reason why it's called a honeymoon. It's to do with drinking a kind of honey product that helps the wife get pregnant in the moon or month after the wedding. But we just use it to mean that nice vacation you have after the wedding. You've had all the stress and now it's just you and your husband or wife going to somewhere nice and just enjoying the time together.
Very nice. And as Pat said, you can do it on the same day you get married, but most people might do it a few months later.
Or a couple of days, maybe.
Or a couple of days, too, yeah. But definitely it's a wonderful, very romantic kind of holiday. That's what you imagine your honeymoon being, going to Venice or Paris or somewhere like that. Anyways, Tristan begins the dialogue and he says, I'm glad we came 2 hours early. The airport is busy. Tristan is a wise and experienced traveler. He came 2 hours early. He could also say, I'm glad we got to the airport or got here 2 hours early. So they arrived at the airport 2 hours before their plane should leave. That's the early part. And as he says this, he notices, yeah, the airport is busy. A lot of people doing their post-COVID traveling have decided to travel on the same day as them. So yes, do arrive early and be prepared to wait in line and wait for delays and things like that because airports are busy.
And why is this one busy? Well, Nancy's having a guess at why. She says, I guess folks are taking winter vacations. It's definitely something you'd want to do in the UK when it's cold in winter. We travel to somewhere hot. But you could also go off to go skiing or something like that at that time of year. Now, here she uses folks. Folk just means a person. This is a casual way of talking. You could say, I guess people are taking winter vacation. But saying folk or folks, this is just a fairly informal way of saying people. So you might say, for example, there sure were a lot of folks at the park looking at the full moon. It just means there were a lot of people there.
There you go. All right. And Nancy, now she turns her attention to what they need to do to get on that plane. And the first thing they should do is, as she says, let's check in. Okay, yes, you will check in when you arrive at the airport. Another place you'll check in is when you arrive at a hotel on the first night you might be staying there. In both cases, you're kind of formally telling the people, we are here, you are expecting us, I have a ticket for a plane, or I have a reservation for a hotel room. And when you check in, you might have to sign some papers. In an airport, of course, you'll have to show them your ticket, your passport, your travel visa. So it's basically announcing yourself at this place, getting yourself on a list, and getting ready to be put on the plane or shown to your hotel room in the case of checking in at a hotel. So there will be a special place. It might be called the check-in counter or something like that, and that is where you go to check in.
And the person working there, the member of staff, says, hello, welcome to Easy Air. Where are you flying to today? And of course, this is a member of staff. Now, sometimes you'll treat staff as a countable noun and you'll say member. It's usually uncountable. You wouldn't see staffs, I beg your pardon. But sometimes people will use the staff is and sometimes people will say the staff are. That tends to depend on just what part of the world you're from. The UK, we would usually say the staff are, but I have heard the staff is. But it's just the workers. It's the people who work in a place for a company. They are paid to be there. They are employees rather than people traveling through. So you could just say workers, basically. We might say, as another example, all of the staff have to stay late for a meeting. So in there, we're kind of treating it as plural, even though it's still in the singular form.
That's right. And it's a useful term because a lot of these jobs have their own special names or titles. If you use staff, you're talking about all of the people who work there, from the secretary to the security guard to the people who sweep the floor at night. They are all staff. They are all workers. In this case, the staff member, the person from the staff they're talking to, would probably be called a ticket agent. So you might ask, can I see a ticket agent? I have a question about my plane or something like my plane ticket. Anyways, so they're talking to this person who will be sure to help them. And Tristan, he kind of tells them where they're going, because that, of course, will be very useful. There's probably hundreds of passengers traveling on 10 or 20 different planes that day. So which plane are you on, or where are you going? So he says, we're going to Bangkok, Thailand. He might also say his name or something like that. We're going to Bangkok. You could also give them the flight number. We're on flight 123 to Bangkok today. You know, just so they know which plane he's expecting to get on and where his ticket shows that he is going.
And the staff member says, wonderful, can I see your passports, please? This is what you'll have to do at the check-in desk or check-in counter. You'll need to hand them your passport. A passport is a travel document that's required when you cross the border between two countries. It'll have your photo, it'll be from a different country, it'll show your nationality, essentially. If you're from one country, you'll have a passport for that one. If you're from a different country, your passport will have a different color. different words. And it's also where they'll stamp, they'll put visas, they'll show when you've left or gone into a place. And there'll be other information as well, like who to contact in an emergency is usually in a passport. So it's just an essential travel document. You can't travel internationally without one. So we would say, when traveling in foreign countries, Bradley always keeps his passport with him.
Yeah, they say that even if you're like in the country, if you leave your hotel, you should have your passport with you as a foreign person, because otherwise you might not have an ID card or something like that. So it is a smart thing to have with you when you are traveling. And once the staff member looks at the passport, they can see, of course, Tristan's full name and other personal information like that. That all looks good. It matches what the computer says, I'm sure. So then the staff turns their attention to the other thing that Tristan might put on the airplane, apart from himself and his wife. They also need some stuff. And what do you carry your stuff in? Well, as the staff member says, do you have any baggage to check in? Yeah, baggage, bags, suitcases, luggage. This is where you put your stuff, how you carry your stuff, your clothes, your toothbrush, your shoes, your sunglasses, all those different things you take with you. We can use this word baggage to talk about all sorts of the bags or suitcases, from a book bag that you might put on your back with your favorite book or your phone in it or something you carry onto the airplane, to that really big suitcase that you might fill with 2 weeks of your clothes and all your souvenirs. So anything that you're taking, any of these bags, doesn't matter the size, you would call that stuff baggage or luggage. Now, in both of those cases, with baggage and luggage, this is a uncountable. So you wouldn't say baggages or luggages. It's just baggage. You have a piece of baggage or a piece of luggage, and then luggage. That would be more than one. Here we have an example. I'm sorry, sir, you can only bring 2 small pieces of baggage on the plane with you. Yeah, that's right. That little book bag and maybe a computer bag or something like that.
And they need to check it in. Now, we looked at checking in a person, which is when you need to register yourself. Here, we're checking in baggage. So you're officially registering items to the care of the airline or other travel company so that they will carry your bags in the hold. So they'll take a note, they'll put a sticker on it that says it goes to this place, this is the plane it should be on, and so on. And so it's been checked officially so it can be recovered later.
And Nancy says, to answer the staff member's question, do you have any baggage? Nancy says, yes, we have 1 piece of check-in baggage each. All right, 1 piece of check-in baggage each. Check-in baggage, those would be the larger bags, the bigger suitcases that you don't carry with you on the plane. You will give it to the staff members, and they will put it under the plane in the cargo hold, where they carry boxes and bags and all the other stuff that aren't people. So that is check-in baggage. The other kind would be carry-on baggage. That's the stuff you obviously carry on with you into the plane.
So the staff member then says, please place them, meaning the bags, on the scales. Scales are pieces of equipment that are used for weighing people or things. We often say it with a plural because there would be 2. You'd weigh something against something else. You wouldn't get a number, but you would see which one is heavier. So these days, there's only really one thing that you put the item on, and it will just give you that item's weight. But we still tend to use scales as a plural. I think more people these days are saying put it on the scale. They maybe don't use the plural as much because there's only one thing. So here's an example. The butcher used a scale to weigh the steaks Felicity wanted to buy, just to see how heavy they were.
There you go. Good way to measure the weight of something in pounds or kilos. And so Tristan picks up that large suitcase, that baggage, that piece of baggage, and puts it on the scales. And of course, you can imagine over in the corner of the scales, there's a little screen with digital numbers, and it will count up to like 29.8 kilograms or something like that. Oh, it's probably a bit more than 29.8. What is it? 36, I think, is the
absolute top.
Sort of the heaviest weight your baggage can be without getting in a small amount of trouble.
Well, the staff member says, I'm afraid one of these is over the baggage allowance. If you start a sentence with I'm afraid or I'm afraid that, then you're going to give bad news. You're not actually scared. You're not saying, oh, I'm scared of this. This is frightening. You're just saying, I'm sorry. this is not good, what I'm about to tell you.
A little bit of bad news is coming your way. So I'm afraid that one of these is over the baggage allowance. And an allowance is basically how much you are allowed. If you are allowed something, you can have that. You are able to do that. You won't be breaking any laws or rules or something like that. An allowance is basically how much another person gives you and says you are allowed to use this much. We can talk about an allowance as an amount of money that a parent might give their younger children. If kids are young in school, don't have jobs, they need money to buy snacks and, things for school maybe. So the parents might say, okay, every week I will give you 500 NT dollars or 1,000 NT dollars. Maybe if you're a bit older, that's your allowance. That is the money that is allowed to you. In the same way that the plane companies basically say every person who gets on the plane is allowed to bring X kilograms of stuff because we don't want the plane to be too heavy. If the plane's heavy, we use more fuel. It costs more. It could be dangerous. So basically, every person who is on the plane, on the airplane, the plane company kind of guesses or uses some simple math to say, well, if everyone brings 30 kilograms, the plane will be fine. We'll take off, no problem. And that is the allowance that they give you. And if you go over the allowance, if basically you go shopping like a crazy person on your holiday and come back with way more stuff than you started with, you might be over that baggage allowance. In which case, they will kick you off the plane and you have to swim home.
Not quite.
Not quite.
No, you won't have to swim home, but you will have to pay for that extra weight. As the member of staff says, you're going to have to pay an extra fee.
And that could be, a couple $100 US dollars.
It's not cheap.
It's not cheap. And anyways, so when Nancy hears this bad news, if someone says, I'm afraid, and they give you the bad news, once you hear it, you can say, oh dear, which is like, oh, that's not good.
So they will pay their money because they want to take everything with them. We then see Tristan and Nancy check in their baggage and go to security. So security, this is the bit between the general area of the airport and the departure lounge where you'd get onto your planes. And to get there, you go through security. That's where they will put you through the metal detector. They will check all of your bags. They will maybe open some things and have a look. And this is where you make sure that you are the right person. You have got a boarding pass. You're not bringing anything dangerous or anything like that through to the bit where you get on the plane. It's supposed to stop crime, terrorism, as well as just people making mistakes and doing silly things.
Exactly. And from security after that, that's only for passengers, people who work at the airport. You have to kind of say goodbye to grandma or whoever you're leaving behind before you go through security. It's only for passengers with tickets. So they get there and security, or this is a security guard, one of the people who work at security, they kind of dress sort of like police officers. They might have a dark blue uniform with some badges or, things like that. They're kind of telling you what to do, and they say, please take all electronics out of your bags and place them into the trays. Anything made of metal, they probably also want you to take off in your wallet, maybe your shoes, your belt, the coins and keys, the metal coins and keys out of your pocket, all of that stuff, and also electronics. Electronics are basically things that are powered by electricity but also have some kind of microchip inside. So think of your smartphone, your laptop, your tablet, handheld video games like your Switch unit, things like that are powered by electricity that you're taking on the plane. Also, leave those there, put them on the tray, and they will take care of them and also pass them through security in a slightly safer way.
A tray is almost like a plate, usually square or rectangular. It's low and it's flat and it's used to carry objects. And there are lots of different kinds of trays. You might have the sort of tray you put tea and coffee on to bring it from room to room or serve it to people sitting at a table in a restaurant. The trays in an airport are more like big plastic, almost like boxes without tops on them. Enough so that you could put an entire backpack or laptop or a bunch of stuff in them. Here's another example of the word tray. The waiter started to load the dirty dishes onto the tray. So again, that's for carrying food in a restaurant.
There you go. All right, so they're putting their things on the tray, and as Tristan's doing this, maybe even taking his shoes off or his belt or something like that, he says security is really serious in airports, meaning it's quite tough. You really have to be careful. There's lots of rules, lots of things they want to look at. If they find, a big bottle of water or shampoo in your bag, bag. You might have to throw it away, and that's the next thing that they encounter. There is something in their bag that the security people aren't too happy with them taking on the plane.
Yep, the security guard says, "Sir, please open your bag." And after Tristan does so, he says, "You can't take this bottle of lotion through. It's more than 100 milliliters." And milliliters is ml. Lotion is some kind of liquid that is applied to the skin. Things like sun cream is a lotion. The stuff you put on after you get sunburn is a lotion. People put lotion on their faces to make their skin looser or not so dry. Put it on your hands. So there are all kinds of lotions, really.
Yeah, a lot of people use those in the bathroom to keep their skin in good shape. And milliliters, because a lotion is a type of liquid, even though it's quite thick, like a cream, it's still a liquid. So milliliter is the measurement for liquid. We might talk about grams if we're talking about how heavy something is. Milliliter is if we're talking about how much liquid there is. There are 1,000 milliliters in a liter. If you think of a simple can of a soft drink can, like a can of Coca-Cola, that's about 350 milliliters. A larger bottle of water might be 500 or 1,000. So 100 milliliters isn't much. That's why if you're traveling, it might be a good idea to take some things in big bottles and put them in the smaller bottles, because that way you can take them on the plane with no trouble.
No such luck for this lotion, though, as the security guard says, "I'm going to have to remove it."
And they will basically just throw it in the garbage right in front of your face. I had a friend who had like 5 bottles taken away from him once at an airport in America. He was very unhappy. They took away his expensive lotions. Anyways, Nancy says to Tristan, her husband, "I told you to put that in the big bag." They might have had a discussion about this when they were packing, and Tristan had said, "No, it'll be okay. It's a small bottle." But Nancy, his wise wife, had said, "No, I don't know. That could be trouble." She was right. He should have put it in the big bag, that large suitcase they put under the plane. That's okay. You can put your liquids in there, but not bring them with you on the plane.
Yeah, I hope that doesn't mess up their honeymoon. We'll find out about what happens to them when they reach the other airport, and in this airport tomorrow. But right now, let's go to our For You Chat question.
For You Chat.
So our chat question is, when was the last time you traveled a long distance? Describe your travel experience.
I don't think I can remember that far back in time. Probably the last time I was home, which would be 2017 or 2018 for Christmas.
Yep.
It's a long distance from Taiwan to Vancouver, Canada, where my family lives, but it's a pretty easy thing. There's just water between us. So generally we get on a plane here and get off a plane there, and that's about it. It just takes a long time. How about you, I guess, when you traveled back home?
Yeah, again, early 2018, I think, or maybe 2017. It's hard to remember. It's a bit more complicated getting to where I live in the UK. You generally have to take maybe 2 or 3 planes. Because you could go from Taipei to Hong Kong to London, or you could go Taipei to Bangkok to London, or Taipei to Bangkok to Amsterdam to Birmingham.
Wow.
If I've tried that way, it wasn't worth it in the end.
No. And how do you get from London to your home in Nottingham? Because that's not very close.
It's a few hours. Usually there is a bus that leaves throughout the night to take you there, but sometimes I will stay in and around London where I have further family members, so I can kind of have a day or two down there before going up north.
Yeah, interesting. So does it take you almost a full day to actually get to your home?
I tend to fly overnight, but I leave at night and arrive in the morning, and I haven't lost much time going that way.
But the traveling time would be close to 24 hours of traveling.
If you include the bus.
That is a long distance and definitely a long time as well. We're going to be talking more about airplanes, so rest up. Don't want to get jet lag between today and tomorrow, but please do come back tomorrow for part 2 of our look at check-in, customs, and the language of airports.
Bye for now.
Vocabulary Review.
Folk. There are many folks in town today. They're probably all going to the market. Staff. All staff in this company can attend the party at the end of the year where they might win prizes. Passport. At the airport, you have to show your passport before you can board the plane. Baggage. Kevin's baggage was too heavy, so he had to pay an extra fee to bring it on the plane. Scales. John put the package on the scales at the post office to see how much it weighed. Tray. The old lady carried out cups of tea for everyone on a silver tray.
智慧小补帖
Honeymoon. Allowance. Electronics. Lotion.
以上节目是由活用空中美语制作。活用空中美语杂志，请洽询全国各大书店。如欲索取试听教材，请来电02-2364-4000 02-2364-4000，或上网查询，网址是 www.english4u.net www.english4u.net